Good evening. Welcome to the March 20th Mount Vernon City School District Board of Education meeting. Please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Trustee Williams.
Present.
Trustee Russo.
Present.
Trustee Torres.
Present.
Trustee Zamore. Trustee McOwen.
Present.
Trustee Ning. Present. Trustee Jaros. Okay. Trustee White.
Present.
Trustee Saunders.
Here.
Quorum is present.
We'll take communications from the public.
Good evening. The Mount Vernon Board of Education recognizes that public comment at Board of Education meetings is essential. However, the Board of Education recognizes the critical importance of community discourse and involvement in the education of Mount Vernon's children, and accordingly, members of the public are invited to speak at each regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Education. Any resident speaker must register in advance no later than 4 p.m. on the date of the meeting by contacting myself, the district clerk, in person here at 165 North Columbus Avenue, via the phone at 914-665-5235, or via email at rmccormack@mtvernoncsd.org. Each speaker is allotted 3 minutes to speak, with up to an additional minute to be used for the speaker to summarize and conclude their remarks. If appropriate, board trustees and/or the superintendent of schools or designees at the superintendent's discretion may respond to the speaker's remarks at the conclusion of the public comment period. Our first speaker tonight is Norman Hauptman.
Hi, guys and gals. It's a pleasure to be here. Rambunctious child, went through the school system in Brooklyn. Now I'm promoting a silent minute. By the way, I want to commend Dr. Quezada and you for you're the potential. He has actually agreed, Dr. Quezada and Yonkers, to try out silent minute in 2 schools. One is Palisade Preparatory School, and the other is a high school, unknown at this moment. So, is there a generation gap between you and the students? I speculate there might be, unconsciously. Some of you, or all of you, sometimes sit in a chair and you say, this is a tough problem, let me think about this. Give it to the kids, the students. They need it every day. By the way, if you have a code of conduct, the principal can say on the PA system, today we'll think a minute about core principle X of code of conduct, because the code of conduct has to be part of their awareness. I think there is a code, right? It must be. So making them aware of the code is purposeful, not just having it on paper. Hi, this is principle X. Today we'll think about being aware of your emotions. That's one of them, the points of the Yonkers School. So make them aware of the code through that. You don't have to do it every day. Another big benefit of the minute of silence, a parent can say to a student, child, have a good day, Tony. Think about this tomorrow, today at school. Or the child could ask the parent to think, what can I think about? So we have all these benefits. Code of conduct becomes familiar and conscious, part of their consciousness. They have a bond opening to the parent. This is a big factor, by the way, a bond. And they become better students through the silence. How much time I have left?
56 seconds.
Can we get, at your convenience, can we get 2 schools that you could try this out as a pilot? 2 schools? It's a pleasure. And I'm pleased that we all get better every day.
Madam President, may I ask a question?
Sure.
So I know last time when you spoke about this, we were curious about some kind of statistics or polls. Were you able to gather any, or?
I remember, I think I sent it to I think I sent it to Mr. McCormick to go to you, but I'll look back.
Okay.
I'll look back. But I brought this question to the fellow who directs this thing throughout the world, by the way. He said, the proof is in the doing of the students.
So it's a bit of a theoretical.
No, not at all. It's scientifically proven, and it's Public School 191. See this Public School momentofsilence.info. But, you know, if I say that something's going to happen, the only proof is to actually enact it. Try it in 2 schools, because if Public School 191 has it, among other schools, and the principal is talking for a 3-minute video, momentofsilence.info. But try it out and see. Give it to the students and then see what the result is.
If you wouldn't mind, can you resend the statistics?
Well, I don't know what they are. I know that there's a lot, but I'll try to do that. But if I send it to you, what does that mean?
Well, I'd love to see how it's worked in practice.
Yeah, right here. You want to hold this? Practice of your own.
Please use the microphone.
But I'll see what I can do. It's a pleasure again.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Leonard Sarver.
Good evening, Dr. Hamlin, School Board.
Good evening.
Nice to see everybody again. When I was first elected to the school board, I think it was 93 or 94, we kind of adopted a motto, and the motto was, well, at least we're better than Yonkers. And that was when we saw that, and he said, now we're going to try to make some improvements. We tried to implement improvements, including the K-8, School of Excellence, school-based budgeting, improving a really successful occupational educational program. Unfortunately, we lost the following election in that all that stuff got shelved. The occupational education was removed from the district, basically. K-8 and the High School of Excellence was canceled. And the next 15, 20 years, we saw a decline in education, as far as I can see it, decline in integration, and kids being removed from the schools and put into other schools, which we're unhappy about. About 4 years ago, with Dr. Johnson, a new board, we reintroduced some of these ideas, including the K-8, which has some issues on the rollout, but also we introduced the High School of Excellence. And I'd like to talk about that tonight, because I'm concerned, because just calling a school a High School of Excellence doesn't automatically make it a High School of Excellence. Calling Stuyvesant, you don't need to call Stuyvesant a High School of Excellence, it is. Or even over in Yonkers, where the middle high school now is a very successful high school, one of the finest in the countries. And the biggest part of that is the standards that they implemented there. There's entry requirements, there's maintenance of grades, there's a strong curriculum, and there's really competent teachers. And I want to ensure that what we intended to do with the High School of Excellence was to duplicate that. And it's right there in Yonkers. If we need a template, and if we follow the way Yonkers implemented and rolled out their middle high school, I think we'd be as successful as a high school in Mount Vernon. So please, I'm not sure, what the decisions have been made, how the rollout's going to be, but the board should take a real interest in making sure that it does become, in fact, a high school of excellence. I want to thank you for the opportunity.
I believe we do. Do you want to answer?
Sure. Firstly, I'd like to invite you. We are actually having a restructuring committee meeting on the 28th, I believe? Yes, the 28th at 7:30 a.m., and we will actually be doing an update on the tenets of the 2020 vision, which will include our implementation schedule, where we are, and what steps we have taken and the philosophy behind that. Dr. Gorman has been really leading the curriculum development portion of the rollout of the high schools, and I'll let him speak specifically to the high school portion in response to your questions.
That's AM.
AM, yes.
Good evening.
So we've been working with our education committee and making continuous updates and presentations to them. One of the things that the board and the movement has been is that because we're a public entity, we are actually moving towards theme-based high schools grounded in best practices. So for example, the STEAM Academy that we're rolling out is going to be a project-based environment, actually theme-based. So grade 9 will be modeled after the United Nations Sustainable Goals for transforming community, and the principal is working with a curriculum team. And so the culminating project will be to design an infrastructure locally and comparing to like world infrastructures that are failing, like Puerto Rico. And one of the concepts that we're really striving for is that kids that necessarily don't have basic skills per se can still think critically and analytically. And so it's really important for us to connect those themes of real-world applications to different content areas and weave it through standards-based. And I could even leave you a copy of some of our initial curriculum work that's going on. But we wanted to give kids choice and raise the bar and hold that standard high. We're just not ready for that criteria everywhere we go. Now, in the high school, we're implementing an IB program, and so we're starting, and we've been to the middle high school at Yonkers. We actually looked at that, and it's a very competitive criteria to get into that, and the IB program is really positive and powerful. We're actually there. But we talked to the principal about how many years it took, and so we are raising the standard, and so in the IB program and the AVID program we have, that training is starting with staff in the summer, to raise that standard for learning and those high standards for learning with staff. The 9th grade is a precursor for the 11th and 12th grade. So we've talked at our education committee about the phasing in of criteria-based, but right now we're not there, and we want them to be theme-based, and we want to really pique kids' interest in what they're learning, and that actually is going to be a big advantage to them as they become competitive when they leave school, because they will have a theme-based approach to their high school education, which is pretty unique right now. Can I respond? I understood about 50% of it.
Okay.
My thoughts are this. Yonkers, you know, appeared to be like a roadrunner passing us in the last 20 years. In the introduction of you know, the IB program and stuff, which, by the way, is part of their middle high school. Use them as a template. And since they're doing so successfully, at a higher graduation rate than we do, they seem to be much more, more successful. Why don't we simply use some of the information that we could get from them and start a high school of excellence and have kids who are really capable of excelling, given the opportunity to really excel. I'm not to demean any of this theme-based education, but if a kid can really compete, and a kid is really smart and has great potential, why not give them the opportunity? And the other thing is, you know, we want to attract kids back into the school system. And that's one of the ways to attract them, is that we have a very competitive school, and maybe there's a standardized test that we could use as a grade, or grades that the kids get. I think that's how Yonkers does it. They have, I think, an 85 on average, whatever, and get admittance to the school. I appreciate some of the ideas that you have, but some of the stuff is so basic, you would think this is a great opportunity for us to get those kids who are really capable of excelling and put them in an environment where they can excel.
We absolutely are doing that, and we are looking at Yonkers, and there are other examples that, in our estimation, may even be better models for us to emulate that aren't necessarily in our backyard like Yonkers. But I invite you to that restructuring committee meeting. You'll probably get a lot more information germane to your question and your concerns, and you can be informed as well in terms of what direction we're headed in.
And another thing on that too, because that doesn't mean that the other high schools don't have, you know, equivalent or you know, or tough curriculum. I mean, that they could still have as difficult a curriculum or whatever, it's still opportunity to do the IB or to take, advanced placement courses. And that's what Yonkers does. They do have one school that's just basically based on entry requirements that are necessary to get into this school.
All right, good. Thank you for your comments. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr. Sarver.
Just say something?
Sure.
Yeah, you surely miss being here, probably. We're getting there. I believe, remember when this was first introduced in 2013, and it took us 3 years to really start the implementation, which will begin, this year, in fact, in September of 2018, this year. So 4 years down the road, we're starting the STEM school. And project-based learning doesn't mean that skills, and content will not be taught. And doesn't mean that AP exams, AP courses and so forth will not be offered. They will. In fact, we're moving toward a model where, and I suggested during our last meeting, I know it can be controversial because the state doesn't believe so, but we do believe in our children to offer something like living environment to all middle school students going into 8th grade, making them more competitive, going into high school, preparing them for college, offering them the algebra one. We have to believe that we can achieve that with the necessary resources. And from that pool, we'll be able to select, to get the student who will be able to come to a STEM school. Those who are not selected will be able to go to Mount Vernon High and do the international baccalaureate if they choose so. So it's there. We're getting there. So if we're getting there. There was something else I wanted to add about that. For this year, for instance, it will not be examination-based, meaning a test-based entry. But my belief is, according to our discussions and meeting, we'll move toward that examination-based entry maybe after the first year or second year. So we'll evaluate after this year, who are we getting, who are the students, the type of resources that will be available for them, and the type of teaching, the model that will be used, to make sure and that we implement, good teaching practices. Like the superintendent said, and Yonkers is a good model. But there are other models. You have Bronx Science, we said, and Stuyvesant. You have to take an exam to enter, which makes it very competitive. And that type of initiative will bring back, we believe, the children of Mount Vernon who, after 4th grade, leave to try to go, to independent schools or other districts that offer them those advanced courses so that they could get a better preparation for college. So we're getting there. It's a long road. We have a plan up until 2020, 21, the 2020 vision. So the first year is this fall, 2018, for the STEM school. And moving forward, we will implement a lot of those ideas, as we go through. So.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Can I ask a follow-up question? Something that Mr. Sarver mentioned. I think part of it, too, is at least I believe in our district, and what we're doing is even more comprehensive in terms of reform and future than what Yonkers has done to date. That's just my opinion. And that we're modeling not just a STEAM school, not just an IB program, but also an arts program like LaGuardia High School in the city. We have VOTEC opportunities. We're really trying to, it's not just a matter of you have the school district, then one good school. We've always been consistently against that kind of model and trying to rather give as many different paths to success as there are, options for kids, which is a lot. One question I had is, and depending on how many board members we have, I'd like to come to the Restructuring Committee meeting and hear the update too. So we can't all go, but I've heard a lot in recent months from the district about the updates in curriculum plans for the STEAM program, and we're starting on the path for the IB program, which I know is a very long implementation time period to get it fully up and running. It takes many years. But I haven't personally heard of many updates in terms of the plans for the high school and the career technology kind of path that we're developing over there. I know we have many kind of independent programs. We have auto repair and cosmetology and and computer science and a bunch of different programs, and I'm wondering kind of where we stand with an overall structure for that program.
That's part of the agenda for the Restructuring Committee meeting on the 28th.
Yeah.
We could go into further detail at the next education committee.
Yes.
With that piece, we've been going systematically, giving updates on each of the schools, and obviously those new programs, and the CT program is on our agenda.
Yeah.
Continue to update the education.
It'd be nice to have a board presentation at some point in the near future on kind of where that stands, because we recently had an IB presentation and a STEAM presentation, and we all get to see the fruits of the arts program several times this school year, which is awesome. But I at least would like to see some kind of update formally on that.
Okay, next speaker.
Jasmine Acer.
Sarah? A-C-E-R-A?
A-S-E-R-E. A-S-A-R-E, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Oh, there.
I actually came here tonight to,
Can you pick up the microphone?
oh, sorry, I wasn't sure. First of all, good evening to
Good evening.
everyone
Good evening.
That's here. I actually came here tonight to talk about the Atlas program. I am a parent of a student who attends Pennington, but is also in the Atlas program. And he's benefited so much from the program in terms of how he learns. He's definitely a different type of learner. He likes project-based, he likes hands-on, that kind of thing, and it's done wonders for him. It's definitely sparked and energized him in terms of, you know, wanting to learn and loving to learn and thinking critically and asking questions and that kind of thing. So I really want to commend the leadership of the program as well as the teachers. But one of the things that I came here to talk about is if there is room, I guess, in the budget for next year to think about expanding the program from once a week. I just think with consistency and developing good study habits and, you know, really feeding off that energy from the children, it would benefit them to be able to have access to that program more than sort of a once-a-week basis. So I guess that's really the question that I have, and that sort of feeds into the discussion around IB programs, really getting children started early, right? And sort of setting them up for that path to success to be able to compete with children from other districts, children from the city. I myself am a graduate of Staten Island Tech, which is one of the schools that competes with Bronx Science and Stuyvesant. It's actually ranked number 23 in the nation. So, you know, I really want to be able to set up our children for success, and part of that is consistency.
Thank you for your question. We are actually in our budget defense rounds process right now. So Mrs. Collins is prepared. Actually, she's already prepared her budget, and I know that's in it.
Okay.
We will review and assess that. And it is definitely something that is on our radar. You're not the first parent who has put that on my radar, quite frankly. So we are looking at that, and in all likelihood, we will be able to expand the program, but I won't be able to say that with certainty until we finish our budget defense rounds.
So when, I guess what, just a follow-up question, what is, I guess, the timeline in terms of follow-up, and what can we as parents sort of do to help advocate?
Well, you don't need to advocate because we know the benefits of it. We got it. We want the same thing that you want, we want as well. So it really is a matter of how we organize our competing priorities. It is a high priority. We anticipate having our budget process wrapped up the week we get back from spring break. That's the last round for the budget defense rounds, and then we'll be able to flesh out our priorities based on that.
All right, thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
day.
Thank you.
Our last speaker is Thomas Keller.
Okay, I attended the Mount Vernon Scarsdale basketball game a few weeks ago, and I went through the security monitors, machines. That's fine. But one of the security people said to me, these machines are very old. They break down frequently, cost $5,000 to fix them. So how much would a new one cost? It's at about $15,000. We haven't had a budget meeting for a while, so I don't know if that's in the budget. We're having a meeting this Friday at 8 o'clock. I think it should be in the budget. I don't know about Thornton, or I don't know, do we have them at Davis or not? Anyway, it seemed to me like it would be a good investment rather than spending $5,000 to repair one frequently. Second, you've heard this before. Get rid of the utility tax, the $2.5 million. Get rid of it. In any event, the state of the city should be in City Hall like it was. It's too bad it had to occur that way because of his arraignment. But anyway, I was wondering if we withdrew an offer or he tried to get one of the facilities in the district and he was turned down. Keep up the lawsuits. There's going to be an investigation of the IDA by DiNapoli or the Attorney General. They're packing that committee with people. They get money from the state, and all they do is grant pilots for low-income housing. 0% tax levy this year. Now, I don't know, I'll probably know on Friday. In the governor's budget, proposed budget, how much foundation aid are we getting, or proposed to be getting, and how much targeted aid? I don't want to go into transportation and special ed and this and that, but I'm breaking it down by foundation aid and targeted aid. And whatever we get, I guess you spend that, but no more. So we have 0% tax levy for the 4th year in a row. I read also something recently where we have 1,950 employees for 8,000 students, 1 to 4. When I talked to Ms. Kopeski a few years ago, it was like we have a different software system, and we really only have 1,400 or 1,600 permanent employees, and then we have part-time employees. It would be nice to get a breakdown, because if one assumes that approximately 2,000 are permanent employees, that's 1 to 4.
Is it?
It's the highest ratio. Yonkers and New Rochelle are 1 to 6, 1 to 7. All right, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Keller, I'll respond to a couple of your questions. Firstly, we are having a security assessment done of our buildings, and the scanning devices are part of that assessment. So once we get that recommendation, we will be able to respond in terms of the condition of the metal detectors and the body scanners that are on location in our various buildings. I am unaware of the mayor making any request to use our facility for his State of the City address, so there was no denial issued on behalf of the district because there was no request ever made. In terms of our 0% tax levy, you'll hear more information about our approach and budget priorities at the next budget meeting. There is some disadvantage to continuing to put out a 0% budget because that impacts your state aid allocation in subsequent years. So at some point, it does not become fiscally responsible to continue to do that. Although it is politically a nice soundbite, we do need to think long-term in how that impacts our state aid allocation. And we'll be more than glad to give you a breakdown on our full-time, part-time staffing numbers. And you can stop by, set up an opportunity with Mrs. Kopewski, who is the Assistant Sup for HR, and she'll be more than glad to give you that breakdown.
Thank you. That concludes public comments. Next, reports from the superintendent.
Good evening, all. My report is relatively simple tonight, relatively brief. Firstly, tomorrow is the Superintendent's Conference Day, which has been canceled due to anticipated inclement weather. Although students are not anticipated to be in school anyway, it's a PD day, but I do have some concerns about teachers being able to navigate the roads safely, so we are, and our PD providers, so we are rescheduling that. And hopefully we'll be able to resume a normal schedule on Thursday, but we're closely watching the weather reports. The Restructuring Committee meeting we've already discussed. That is, again, on March 28th at 7:30 a.m., and that'll be held in the board conference room. And I'm also really excited to announce an opportunity that 30 of our students in 11th and 12th grade have to participate in a program, tech tour specifically at Watson Research Think Lab. There'll be a panel discussion with IBM scientists and executives, and our students will be able to visit the Watson Jeopardy game area, the data center, and the new quantum lab, where some top secret areas have never been open to the public before. Our students will have an opportunity to be a part of that, in addition to visiting the augmented reality lab that Watson is currently working on to edit movies, and totally new technology as it relates to the film industry. The tour will actually be held on March 29th from 8:30 to 1:30. And this is a partnership with IBM and BNNNY, which is the Black Network of New York. They are actually providing payment for transportation, breakfast and lunch for our students, and the interaction that our students will be able to have with the IBM executives and scientists is really a very special opportunity for them, and not one that many get to explore and experience. And we really see this as a gateway to a partnership with IBM and our young students to help the district move further with the implementation of the International Baccalaureate program, the STEAM school, and of course the opportunity to enrich our CTE program. And that concludes my report for this evening.
That's wonderful. Good news.
Sue, don't we have an announcement about the pool?
Pool, we got
Yes.
the clearance
Yes.
from the Department of Health this week. The pool we're already working on the schedule for who's using the pool. I got my swim cap yesterday. So yes, alas, the pool is ready for full occupancy.
All right, next up are committee reports. So we'll go with Mr. Russo.
Nothing to report.
Nothing to report?
Okay.
More facilities, and everything is progressing as usual, but we did have a problem at Williams in 2 classrooms, and I'm glad to say that everything is settled. New floors and everything has been put in for the students there. So that was all.
Trustee Russo? Trustee Torres? I'm sorry. No reports. Trustee Williams?
No reports.
Trustee McGowan?
No, we're still waiting on draft policies from the business office. Hopefully next meeting.
I don't have any reports either. Next, acceptance of minutes for March 6th.
Motion.
Motion? Aye.
Trustee Saunders. Second.
Second.
Trustee White. All those in favor?
Aye.
Yes, aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to make a motion to enter into executive session for the purpose of,
Receiving advice from legal counsel and discussing the employment history of a particular person or persons.
this should take about 20 minutes. We should be back at, let's say, 7:35.
Motion?
So moved.
Trustee Torres?
Seconded.
Second, Trustee McOwen. All those in favor?
Motion to reconvene?
Trustee Saunders made the
Can't do that. Can't just start a program saying it's going to benefit someone.
All in favor?
I'm in favor.
Should I bang my...
Implementing.
Motion to reconvene?
Motion.
Okay.
We already
I
did
know,
that.
I
We
just
have-
had
we have
to,
a-
I know.
All those in favor?
Yes,
Aye.
aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries.
I'd like to put the opportunity out for any trustees to remove anything from the consent agenda.
Can I, Paul, I forgot to ask one question about what's the one about 7.4.
You want me to take it off of consent?
Yes.
Just one item that trustees, as you'll know, has been added to the agenda is the trip that I just talked about, the IBM trip. It does need board approval, so that has been added to the.
Where is that?
Yes, it's under superintendent's report. The IBM trip.
The one you mentioned?
Yes.
But is it on the agenda now?
Yeah, it's
Yes,
under
superintendent's
superintendent.
report.
Can you just pull it up so we can read it? Do we have to separately vote on this, or is this part of the consent?
As part of the consent. It says, "Be it resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, this Board of Education authorizes an agreement with International Business Machines for students to visit the Yorktown Research Center. Be it further resolved that the President of the Board of Education is authorized to execute said agreement."
Is there any cost? There's no cost, right?
No, they're paying for transportation, breakfast, and lunch.
Fantastic.
That's why we need the agreement.
Yes.
Okay. Any more questions, other than that one removal?
No.
Motion to approve consent agenda.
Motion.
Trustee Russo, second.
Second.
Trustee Nying. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes. Aye.
Opposed?
Okay,
Abstain?
Trustee McGowan? Habitat?
Before we talk about that, before I put it on the floor, just this, we just spent $250,000 on science bookcases. And it's just amazing how this money goes, for the public's knowledge, for all the science things. Yeah. No, it's all the furniture for the science classroom, for the five classrooms. Oh, yeah, no, it's not, it's a fine price, and it's per a state contractor, actually, with a negotiated discount. But it's just a reminder, we only have like $80 or $90 million, and it goes quickly. No, my question about Habitat for Humanity 7.4 is just, this is a student club, right? With an advisor by Habitat for Humanity? Is that what this is?
Owner of Habitat and Humanity, a high school advisor, and our students.
Right. And is there an actual agenda for this, or is this?
He has projects, and I've asked actually Sherry Wood to give me an agenda, meeting dates,
Right.
and the projects evolve within the community. But he was very passionate about the give back and doing.
You're talking about Mr. Kaloran?
Yeah,
He's a passionate guy.
And he is.
They don't come with much more passion. I'm just curious who instigated this. Was it they approached us, or we approached them, or was it a student initiate this,
He
or?
approached us.
Yeah.
And I said, sure, and especially with the work that Mr. Russo has been doing with the clubs for the board, and it was a perfect fit.
Yeah.
Especially embracing community service, which is a nice theme of giving back and service learning that all the high schools are starting to embrace a little bit
Yeah.
more as well.
No, it's fantastic, and I hope it goes further, and I hope it, because something Mr. Kaloran and I actually talked about years ago was the and I talked with Cliff, our attorney, at some point, but the possibility of using Habitat for Humanity as a partner in terms of doing contractor training, right, or giving students experience with building that they can actually get credit for, or actually, right, it's perfect for the career tech aspect of all this. So I hope it's not just a club. I hope it ends up being a real partnership. Everybody wins. It's win-win-win. Everybody wins.
And it would benefit the students in terms of their college applications.
Yeah.
You know, the community service aspect. You know, I think and they're also going to offer, if our recollection is correct, woods, you know, for some of the rooms at Mount Vernon High School. You know, so they would, those pieces of wood, and help them rebuild it. You know, so. And then the students, you know, will be involved in community projects.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's great.
I'm all in favor. I just wanted more details about what initiated this.
Okay.
Thanks.
So, motion to
Yeah,
approve.
I'll move to approve it, yeah.
Okay, motion to approve Resolution 7.4.
Motion.
Second. Second.
Second.
Mr. Russo? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries.
Okay, any unfinished business?
Just one item of unfinished business with regards to school names, which I brought up a couple of times and we've talked about on our Family and Community Engagement Committee. We're in the process of working with administration as the committee in standardizing the names for the schools so that the signage, the letterhead, the website, the email, everybody, the SED, right, Albany, everyone's using the same terminology to refer to the same buildings. And we have to think of, for example, a lot of our schools are, for example, Trapphagen Elementary. Well, once it's pre-K through 8, it's not elementary school anymore. It has to be called the Trapphagen School. That's just an example, but we need to standardize names for every building in the district. And we're working to come up with kind of a finalized list so that everybody's using the exact same terms. Just wanted to update on that, that's all.
Any other unfinished business? Any new business? Okay, motion to adjourn?
Motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night.